Welcome back to Explore Your Dark Side. My name is Stephanie Bosch, and as mentioned in the previous video, I am going to introduce you to the three primary Hogan assessments that are HPI, HDS, and MVPI. This video here will be about the HPI, so the Hogan Personality Inventory. And the Hogan Personality Inventory assesses how you get along with others, or like your everyday behavior when you're on autopilot, which means it's your behavior that you show when you are in your comfort zone. So when you're not challenged, when you're not stressed, but rather in your full like flow kind of zone, in control, and you're feeling relaxed. So of course, I myself am a certified user of Hogan Assessments, and I am happy to link you up also the webpage where you can read a bit more and get some more information, but I will try to be as concise as possible with the information I give you. So all of the assessments take roughly 15 to 20 minutes to complete, and they are best put to use when they are combined with each other. The HPI, the Hogan Personality Inventory, is based on the 5-factor model, and the 5-factor model is the biggest model people could agree on basically about personality, and it's easy to remember like the traits that are assessed with the acronym OCEAN. So OCEAN stands for O, openness for new experiences, C for conscientiousness, E for extroversion, A for agreeableness, and the N for neuroticism or emotional stability. Well, it's the neuroticism because otherwise we wouldn't get the acronym OCEAN, obviously. But yeah, emotional stability is basically the same. So this is what is like the basis, the foundation of the HPI, the Hogan Personality Inventory. With the HPI have been more than 3 million people assessed so far, and has been validated for use in more than 1,000 research studies. Also, it's available in 40 languages, so this is like proper stuff. It has been tested, it has been researched, it has been used, it has been improved over and over again. Compared to other personality assessments, this really is valid and reliable stuff. So it's really the good one. And the normal personality, so your behavior in everyday situation, gives you basically really good insights in how people work, how they get along with each other, how they lead, what their strengths are, and also how successful they will be. So Hogan assessments can predict performance. And these assessments can all be used either like in a developmental context, so whether it's for personal development, for leadership development, or in a kind of like assessment and selection kind of in a recruitment setting. So whether you want to find the right people or you want to develop the people you already have. The Hogan Personality Inventory has 7 primary scales. So you will get a flash report where you see 7 scales. These are kind of like the main scales, and I will link this up as well so you can see what I'm talking about. I will probably edit this in later on. But yeah, so it's like 7 scales, and I will go into more detail what these scales are, what they assess in later on in the video. Then we have 42 scales that are subscales to those primary scales. So what this means is on the second page of the assessment, or like of the flash report, you will then get feedback of your assessment results. So you can even read more in depth how do the results come together. So why would you, for example, score higher or lower on adjustment, etc. So you can see on this in the subscales then a more in-depth information on how the scales are being put together, or what do they contain of, if that makes sense. There are, of course, also Hogan sample reports available, and I will link them down below in the info box so you can have yourself a read through. You can check in more detail. You can also obviously check it out for yourself if the information that I put up on the display won't be enough for you. One thing that is really important when reading the reports is you will get a scale, and on this scale you get a number, and this number is a percentile, and this is like basically how are you being seen compared to other people who have taken this report, or like the population of the global norm, that is your benchmark. How are you comparing in this benchmark with other people? So, for example, if you have a very high number on the right hand side, like in the 70s, in the 80s, or in the 90s, then this gives you an indication that the majority of population who is your benchmark scales lower on this scale than you do. Vice versa, if you have a low score, then the majority of the population who has gone through this assessment, or who's your benchmark, scales higher. So this gives you a very good indication that you are most likely have a preference, or being seen very strong, with a very strong preference in one way or another, and that most likely the other person will react differently, or has a different preference. So this gives you a very good indication of what could potential pitfalls be, or where are your strengths, where can you basically stand out. The first scale on the HPI is adjustment. An adjustment predicts the ability to handle stress, to handle your emotions, and also to receive feedback. The second scale of the HPI is ambition, and the ambition scale predicts leadership, competitiveness, drive, and initiative. The third scale is sociability. Sociability predicts how much a person enjoys meeting new people, or towards a certain extent needs to be in contact with different various individuals. So it's more or less like the quantity of relationships or touching points with new people a person needs. Then we have interpersonal sensitivity, and interpersonal sensitivity and sociability kind of like go together, so they are interlinked. And interpersonal sensitivity predicts charm, warmth, tact, and in general social skill. Then the next scale up is prudence, and the prudence scale predicts self-control, conscientiousness, and work ethics. Then we have inquisitive. The inquisitive scale predicts curiosity, creativity, as well as openness to new ideas and experiences. And the last scale of the HPI is learning approach, and the learning approach scale predicts a person's preferred learning style and gives insight in the preferred method a person likes to acquire new knowledge. So in the following, after I now mentioned all the 7 scales, I will now name the scales for you, and then quickly name the belonging subscales of each main scale, so you can see how they fit together. And then I will give you also a quick indication of, not the whole thing, because you can read that on the internet as well, but to just give you a quick indication of what does this mean. So what does a high score mean, what does a low score mean for the HPI, and how the interpretation of the different scores would look like. By the way, so if you want to get this assessment for yourself, you will then need to find a certified Hogan consultant, someone like me, who will give you feedback. So it's not just one of those assessments where you just find your results on the internet and you just read it through. So you would get a proper debriefing of your own profile, and also can ask then the questions you have. There are different versions, by the way, so you could have it as a lead version, which also gives you insight in how you lead others, or you can have the inside version where it's a bit like narrowed down, so it really is just for you, and not necessarily considering your leadership style. All of the subscales give you more insight of your personality style, and as I said, you would need to find a Hogan consultant who can then explain it to you, and also what does this mean for you, obviously, for your own profile. I'm aware that this is an insight here to the assessment. However, it's very different than getting a tailored feedback that is really based on your own personality, rather than getting a big overview. But I mean, I guess that is a no-brainer anyways. Okay, so let's get started with the subscales. And we start with adjustment. And adjustment has different subscales, which would be empathy, not anxious. So basically the absence of being irritability. I find sometimes the subscale description might be slightly misleading, so I will give you a bit of a definition. What does that mean? Because so if you just read the title, or like listen to the title, like not anxious, it might be like, what does not anxious mean, or what does good attachment mean, for example. So I will give you a really quick definition of what the subscales actually mean. Okay, so the first scale is adjustment, and the first subscale is empathy. And empathy is defined as the absence of irritability. Then the second one is not anxious, which is the absence of anxiety. No guilt, which is the absence of regret. Then calmness, which is lack of emotionality. Even-tempered, that a person is not moody. No complaints means what it says on the tin, so it means the person does not complain. Then trusting is not paranoid or anyone like suspicious. And good attachment means good relationships with authority figures. The next scale is ambition, and the subscales are as follows. Competitive, which means obviously being competitive. Then self-confident is the confidence in oneself. Accomplishment is, and this is an interesting one I feel, is the satisfaction with one's performance. So are you satisfied when you hit your goal, when you reach your target? Then we have leadership. That's the tendency to assume leadership roles. So do you have like a natural, do you enjoy taking on leadership roles? Then identity is the satisfaction with one's life tasks. And no social anxiety, which means a person is self-confident. Then we have the scale sociability with the following subscales. Likes parties, so a person who enjoys social gatherings. Likes crowds. Experience seeking, so this is usually people who prefer like variety and challenges and mix things up. Then we have exhibitionistic. This is like someone who's like attention seeking, entertaining, being charming and amusing. The next scale is interpersonal sensitivity. And interpersonal sensitivity is how easy to live with as a person. Are they like tolerant and easygoing? Are they sensitive? Are they caring? Do they like people? And no hostility. No hostility refers to is a person generally accepting. Then the next scale is prudence, and the following subscales belong to prudence. So moralistic, virtuous. Virtuous is referring to are you being principled. Then we have not autonomous. Is the person concerned about others' opinions about this person? Not spontaneous, so is there a preference for predictability? Impulse control, lack of impulsivity, avoiding trouble. So yeah, I mean, I guess that speaks for itself. Then we have the scale inquisitive with the following subscales. Science ability, so are you interested in, or is a person interested in science? Curiosity, thrill-seeking, intellectual games. This refers to an interest in riddles and puzzles. Then generating ideas, and culture. And culture refers to a wide variety of interests. Then the last scale is learning approach with the following subscales. Education. Education refers mainly to being a good student. Math ability, being good with numbers. Good memory, so can this person remember things easily. And reading, keeps up to date with what's going on. Another thing that is really interesting about the HPI is that if someone would go for an inside report series, so has chosen the inside series rather than the lead series, so a person wouldn't necessarily get insights about how they lead, their leadership behavior. The HPI or the report, the inside report, can also give information about occupational scales. And those occupational scales could be sales potential. So what is the potential of this person what is the potential of this person having taken the assessment, how good they're going to be in sales, also from service orientation, managerial potential, etc. Also, they have the option to, maybe I'll just go through the, let's just quickly go through the occupational scales actually. So I just read out what it says here. So HPI occupational scales predict a person's competency to perform in 6 general occupational roles. The scales are based on research comparing high and low performers in each of the job categories. The scale assesses qualities that distinguish the high-rated performers from the low-rated performers. Maybe I should just say, I mean, obviously, I think you got it already, but this is for recruitment purposes, right? So this is if you want to find out whether a person fits the team or whether a person is the right person for the role you're currently hiring for. So you wouldn't necessarily use these ones in leadership development, because then we would obviously use the lead version, where you also get some insights in your leadership behavior or like in your leadership style. So the HPI subscales include, and I just read them out again, like service orientation is the first one, stress tolerance, reliability, clerical potential, and then sales potential, and the last one is managerial potential. So this gives you again like a really good overview of who might be the right choice for the position you're hiring for, because I know loads of people totally overestimate their intuition when it comes to recruiting. They think, yes, I just know who to hire. Yes, we obviously don't, and we are often, well, we all are biased, and that's a fact. So depending on, how much you have trained the people who do your recruiting, this can be dangerous, because often we find people, or we like people who are just like we are, etc. Right? There are loads of reasons to make talent assessment and selection data-driven rather than intuition-driven. But again, like my main focus, I mean, I worked in recruitment, I worked in executive search. However, my main focus is developing leaders. So for leaders, this wouldn't necessarily be too relevant. But my clients obviously also have sometimes kind of like HR functions when it comes to hiring. So yeah, I thought it was just be interesting to see what can we do with the HPI assessment. So this has been quite a long video, so I will pause here and will upload a second video for the HDS, or the Hogan Development Survey, the second assessment, and then a third video for the AMVPI, the Motives, Values, Preference Inventory from Hogan, simply because otherwise this would just get crazily long. So I will see you in the next one.